It is a truth universally acknowledged that I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Hi, my name is Paige, and today we are delving deep into the character of Severus Snape. Severus Snape was born in the year 1960 to Tobias and Eileen Snape. Tobias Snape was a Muggle, and he worked as a miner in the town of Cokeworth to which he was born. Eileen Snape was a witch, making Severus Snape a half-blood, as he later referred to himself as the Half-Blood Prince, noting the sixth Harry Potter book is named after him. Severus is one of the only known wizards to come out of Cokeworth. There could obviously be more, but that we don't know about because they're not important to the main plot of the story. But the other most notable person from Cokeworth being Lily Evans, a Muggle-born to whom Severus befriended before 1971 when they went to school, as they were the only two people that had any magical knowledge. When at Hogwarts, due to his friendship with Lily Evans, as well as James Potter's utmost fascination with her, Severus was practically tortured and bullied by the Marauders, also known as James Potter's posse, for his entire Hogwarts career. In his 6th year at Hogwarts, after a round of ceremonious torture, at this point excessive bullying, this time it being that Severus was dangled from a tree and had his mouth washed up with soap via the scorified charm. He, out of anger and shock, called Lily Evans a mudblood, or dirty blood, as she was a Muggle-born. This ultimately extinguished their entire friendship despite the numerous apology attempts that Severus made the year after. After this incident, Lily Evans began to date James Potter, and later married him after they graduated from Hogwarts, and had a child with him. James and Lily also invited Severus to their wedding. Talk about awkward, alright? Also at the age of 16, Severus's mother was murdered by his father, who was notorious for abusing the both of them. There are rumors that Tobias Snape had tried to drown Severus as a child in the bathtub, and that he is known to beat his wife. It's just an all-around not so great guy. Severus, in his 7th year at Hogwarts, begins apprenticing under Potions Master Horace Slughorn to also become a Potions Master. At this point in his life, full of such grief and dread, he joins the Death Eaters and becomes a soldier for Lord Voldemort during the Wizarding War. Also, in part due to the manipulation of Slytherins via Lucius Malfoy, who was a year or two older than them, Severus ultimately joined the Death Eaters because he felt that he had no other options. Ultimately, Severus remained loyal to Lily Evans, now Potter, turning to Albus Dumbledore to protect her as he learned of a prophecy that would ultimately lead to her untimely demise. On October the 31st of 1981, Lily and James Potter were killed in their home at Godric's Hollow. Voldemort supposedly also died, killed by Lily's sheer love and will, which protected her son, Harry, who was the only survivor of the incident, making him the boy who lived. Severus was the first person to find their bodies. Harry was sent to live in London with his relatives, the Dursleys, who turned out to be incredibly...
Oh, great.
That's the understatement of the century. Also at this time, Severus Snape became the resident Potions Master at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. In the year 1991, Harry Potter begins his schooling at Hogwarts. And from that point on, Severus vows to protect Harry, to keep his promise and loyalty to Lily Evans, leading, ultimately, to his death in 1997. Now, to further the plot of the actual Harry Potter series. Severus's death makes absolute sense. It's symbolic for a multitude of reasons, not just because he is finishing his mission, but also because it sparks the end of the old world. As a alternate universe stan, I began to question what could have happened if Severus hadn't died. Now, I'm no stranger to fanfiction. A lot of it has a lot of plot holes. But I kept on looking, and I kept on looking.
And I kept on looking.
And then it came to me. I could just write alternate universes myself and do them the right way, or at least what I perceive to be the right way. As an inside joke with a friend of mine, I took up the challenge of rewriting the Disney Descendants franchise to fix the plot holes. But it ultimately ended up to me rewriting the Descendants franchise in Harry Potter. And by inserting a mere 5 characters that are of actual importance to the plot, which isn't a lot when you consider how many actually exist in the Harry Potter universe, I've begun to realize that I can give him a better ending. One that isn't indicative of the war, but is symbolic of him coming to terms with himself, refinding his self-confidence, and getting what he's always wanted: peace. It all started with a single character of my creation, who goes by the name of Oswin Olympia Ovidar, who is meant to mirror Mal in the Descendants series. Oswin is one of the first 3 children to be taken from Abesteos Isle, also known as the Isle of the Lost, and taken to the mainland to receive schooling on magic and the world. Riddled with insecurities and trauma, similar to Severus Snape, Severus takes the role of her mentor, tutoring her on everything that she doesn't know about the world, which is actually quite a lot, because the isle that she lived on was created in the late Victorian period and has no idea how the world currently works. Through their 5-year struggle, Severus begins to see Oswin as a daughter figure in his life. It's a reality that he never thought that he'd be able to live. And, due to her own
Daddy issues,
she too sees him as a father, for she had never met a person as equally damaged and understanding as him. It becomes very evident very early on that he would die for her, and he almost does. The other person who could dramatically change his life is yet another OC of mine, who goes by the name of Magnolia Marie Bennett. Magnolia takes in the 3 BTKs, or the big 3 kids, when they arrive at the mainland, basically fostering them, and she later adopts all 3 of them. She is a pure-blooded Hufflepuff that befriends Severus in her first year at Hogwarts. They are the same age. But sadly, due to her parents' pure-blooded fanatics, she gets put in an arranged marriage with a deranged lunatic. Now, it's very well received that Snape is a man of integrity and respect. So I think it's very improbable that he would ever commit any act of adultery, even if it be a kiss. He refused to court Magnolia while she was in her marriage, but due to Magnolia's husband being a bit of a prick and also a criminal, he was sent to Azkaban, and while he was in Azkaban, Snape helped her divorce her husband. Now, I think it probable that he would probably jump to his chances, and had it not been for the rise of Lord Voldemort. I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form on the Harry Potter universe. But I am a striving connoisseur. My story is not meant in ill intent, but it is merely an interpretation of how things could have been. For that's what we all really think about, isn't it? How things could be. We live in a world in which every action that we have has an equal and opposite reaction, and it turns out that those equal and opposite reactions could spark billions. There are millions of alternate universes that can be created for you deciding to not have a coffee in the morning, or to take a nap instead of doing your homework. We live in a world riddled with opportunity. Why not jump to the chances to see how things could really change, should we take some of them? And although I may not be J.K. Rowling's biggest supporter right now, due to the immense controversy that she's been in the last couple of years, I do think that her story is a work of genius. But with every work of genius, even works that aren't genius, there's so much more to be said. Nothing is said of how the average person in this world lives, where we only see it from Harry's perspective. What is it actually like to live at Hogwarts? What is it actually like to be a wizard? To be in a war that no one wants to fight, that no one wanted to have started. What is it like to be neglected and abused and tortured for all your life, for that all to suddenly just disappear? These are the questions that I'm asking myself. For I, like most people I would assume, have this undying, unrelenting want to understand the world, not for the power that it would give me, but because it confuses me. I don't understand it. I don't think I would better myself by understanding it. But there is so much information that is yet to be learned. And C.S. Lewis once said that we write to understand. So I will write to understand. And I don't care how many people stand behind me. For there is a universe of answers, and I am determined to find them.